Yep, you know what time it is, man. This is, of course, your favorite channel, man, CTB. This is Chance Boxing. I'm your boy, Jay Slay. See what up to him, man.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in today.
Most definitely. You know what you're tuned into, man. This is, of course, a segment we call here Chin Check. This one we rock you guys a chin with boxing news, boxing information, boxing rumors. Sometimes we put a little bit of money in your pocket by giving you the odds of a fight. But today we want to talk about the ongoing saga, man, what goes on with Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis, man. Uh, these guys are slated to fight each other sometime next year, sometime in the middle of the year, maybe like the first or second quarter of the year. But Tank already has a fight signed. He has a fight signed for January of next year. I think it's January 7th. He's fighting Hector Garcia. So it's not the Garcia that we wanted, but it is another Garcia. If you're not sure who Hector Garcia is, he's the guy who pretty much bust on the scene when he pretty much knocked down and embarrassed Little B-Hop, Chris Colbert. He gave Chris Colbert his first L earlier last year. I think he also beat his last opponent late in the year. So he's coming out fresh, trying to do the same thing to Tank, man. He's trying to upset Tank. But there's possible rumors that the Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight is slated for next year. But we haven't heard any announcements other than the fighters are saying that this is official. You think it's official, man? Are you gonna wait for that Mayweather Promotions word or that Mayweather word to come out and make the fight official?
We've been let down so much as boxing fans over the last year. Until I see it's finalized, as far as the promotional banners coming out and announcing it, I'm gonna have to, pump the brakes a little bit before I get too excited about the fight. I think it's gonna happen. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say it's a 70% chance. But yeah, I'm not gonna go on a limb and say I know it's gonna happen. Even though the fighters have said something, most time when the fighters do talk and say the fight is gonna happen, it does happen. But it is alarming that Premier Boxing has put it on their social media, but as of right now, TMT or Mayweather Promotion has not put it on theirs and have not made an announcement. Or Mayweather has not said anything. So that's kind of alarming to me that the guy that's running the company is not saying anything about one of the biggest fights in boxing, which lets me know that it is some turbulence, I guess, between Davis and Mayweather, which we already knew, and with Ellaby, especially with the stuff coming out about them wanting him to lose the Rolly, and Tank coming out and saying something about that. So I don't know what's going on between that. I just hope that it don't be an obstacle and stop the fight, and I hope they can put their pride to the side and do what's best for us boxing fans.
Yeah, I agree, because they're only gonna lose money in the deal, even if they do have beef with between Floyd and Tank. You still want to promote the fight because you are the promoter of the fight. That's how you get your money. You get your money on the percentage. So to not promote the fight only hurts you, in my opinion. We seen how that goes when they went with Crawford and Top Rank. They did minimum promotion on Crawford and then yet blame him for the lack of sales. So I don't know that's what Mayweather trying to do. Maybe they're trying to not promote the fight so they can say, oh yeah, his Tank Davis' sales are low because the Tank Davis is not named like he used to be, and trying to hurt his marketability. But the whole world ain't stupid. The whole world know that Tank Davis is possibly top 5 in promotional and PBV sales. In my opinion, he probably top 3 if I'm not mistaken. It's between top 3 and top 5 in pay-per-view sales. So that's the game plan. I don't see that working too much. There was rumors of him leaving PBC, leaving Mayweather Promotions and going elsewhere. He didn't say where, but he said him possibly leaving him because of the lack of fights he was getting. He had one fight this year, I think, which was the Rolly fight, which was in May of this year. So maybe they're trying to get more fights, man. If it's true that he already got one fight signed. He already got the Hector Garcia fight signed. So if this fight is true, there'd be a great payday in the fight, man. And so maybe they're trying to give him 2 fights. Who knows what's going on there? Like I don't want to get my hopes up per se, because so we've been hurt in boxing, let down in boxing recently. But it is a great fight to have, in my opinion, early this year. But leads to another question, though. There's another fight that's just as big or bigger, but a lot of people seem to think that the fight is not as big as the Tank versus Ryan Garcia fight. That is the Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence fight. A lot of promoters has coming out, especially what's the guy's name? The promoter in the UK?
Hearns.
Eddie Hearns. Yeah, Eddie Hearns came out recently and tried to say that this fight is not as big as as big as America is trying to make it to be. But he seems to think that the Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis fight is a moneymaker. He seems to think that's the fight of all fights. Do you agree with Eddie Harris and said that Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis is a lot bigger on the world scale compared to Terence Crawford and Errol Spence?
No, now it is debatable. I think as far as us boxing fans, it's not close. I think the Spence and Crawford fight is gonna be more competitive. I think it is a bigger fight for hardcore boxing fans. But as far as the whole world of boxing, as far as pay-per-view numbers, honestly, it's gonna be pretty close. I still would favor Spence and Crawford to sell more pay-per-views, but Ryan Garcia and Tank's gonna sell a lot of pay-per-views, man. Like if I talk to a random guy that don't really watch boxing, like one of my homeboys or somebody that don't really follow boxing, they probably would know Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis maybe slightly more than they know Spence and Crawford, maybe, or just know them just as well. So and a lot of people ask me about that fight. They say, "Man, Money, you know about boxing, man. What you think about that? That Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia fight?" And to me, I don't think it's a highly competitive fight. I don't think Ryan Garcia is on that level as Tank Davis. But to the world outside of us hardcore boxing fans, they think it's a huge competitive fight. I even hear them talking about it on ESPN. They talk about that fight more than they talk about the Terence Crawford and Spence fight. So I think it's going to sell, 600, 700,000 plus pay-per-views. But I also think Terence Crawford and Errol Spence going to sell between 600 to 800,000 pay-per-views. So they both are big fights. But I prefer the Spence and Crawford fight because I think it's a more competitive fight.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm trying to be unbiased with it. I do think the Spence versus Crawford fight is a lot bigger fight. So I am biased when it comes to that. But I will say that, yeah, you're absolutely right. The fight is closer than what most real boxing fans wanted to believe it to be. Because we real boxing fans, we know Ryan Garcia is an unaccomplished fighter. He has never won a title. The title that he did win was wasn't the real belt. It was like the mandatory, the number one spot belt, the mandatory belt. So we know that, and we know Tank Davis, he goes up and down in weight between 130 and 140. He has won titles, but his resume has been criticized by fans, people who are not fans of his, I would say. So for this fight to be compared to with possible undisputed at welterweight with two undefeated fighters who are both top 3, if not top 5 pound for pound in the world, to me it makes no sense. I'm gonna be honest. That's just the pure boxing fan to me. This is a pure boxing fan who looking forward to the Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence fight a lot more because I know the background of each fighter. But coming from a casual fan standpoint, I can kind of see why this fight is more marketable to some degree because, like you said, they both have a Twitter presence. Especially Ryan Garcia, he has a huge social media following. A lot of people say that it has not translated to boxing sales yet because he hasn't had the pay-per-view yet. So we are curious to see how that turns out. With social media followers follow the fight and actually watch the fight, or is it just smoke and mirrors, man? Maybe that social media thing ain't really where it's at, and it's not really a real gauge of the real numbers.
A quick question. Right now we're in an era where social media is the king of how to advertise whatever you're doing, especially when it comes to sports and in boxing. And we living in an era with Jake Paul and the KSI, and even Mayweather making money doing these fights in other countries. Could the Tank Davis and Garcia fight be close to Spence and Crawford? Because Spence and Crawford are not very social media guys. They kind of old school, they not really into posting every day or going back and forth on Twitter or, they had their little rants here and there and say a couple of things, but they're not really social media personalities, whereas Tank Davis is more of a social media presence. And Ryan Garcia is a huge social media presence. Could that be the reason why this fight is kind of close as far as what fight is bigger?
Yeah, that's most definitely the only reason. I just went through a couple of reasons why. I said Ryan Garcia is not an accomplished fighter. To me, he's more of a hype job, in my opinion. He's more of a hype job who, has one punch. He pretty much has a left hook. And he hasn't won no titles. He's not really top. He's barely even top in his own division. He's barely considered a top opponent in his own division. He is a top division, but mostly because of his name and marketability, and people want to see him. He's not a top for his competition, in my opinion. And Tank Davis, like you said, he's Tank Davis. He's a proven commodity. He's a proven guy who's outsold arenas on both coasts and Atlanta, which is a new boxing mecca. He sold out in Mecca. He sold out in Atlanta. He sold out in the Barclays. He sold out in California. So he sells out where he goes. So he's a proven commodity. I think the person who's not the proven commodity is Garcia. But like I said, a lot of people are banking on the fact that he has a huge social media following. But also, another reason why I think this fight is probably close is because the casual market, like you said about the Jake Paul situation and all that, the casual market actually paying for these fights. Let's just keep it real. A lot of hardcore boxing fans, we are not paying for the watered down fights, and that kind of killed the market a little bit. Well, I think the hardcore fans will pay for a Rolly versus not a Rolly, whatever, a Tank Davis versus Garcia fight. We are not a proven commodity anymore because we don't buy the fights that we used to, in my opinion. I mean, I buy most of my fights. If it's not a watered down fight that I want to see, I pay for it. It's like I don't mind supporting my favorite fighters. But a lot more of the hardcore boxing fans, especially this past year, now they're not paying for the fights like that we got this year from PBC. They're not paying for the Ortiz's versus Ruiz's fights no more. So the numbers are taking a hit from it. Like Terrence Crawford, for instance. Terrence Crawford is number one pound for pound guy, but his fight wasn't selling well because people don't want to pay for the watered down fights. So would you put Ryan Garcia in the category as a possible watered down fight? That's yet to be proven yet, and I think this fight is going to prove that.
Yes, to a certain degree. I understand what they are doing, why they're having this fight, because like all the reasons you just said, like you said, we're in the social media era. People want to be, especially in the boxing community, people want to be more entertained than actually want the best fighting the best. They want entertainment. They want a personality. They want people that with bad blood. They want people to go back and forth on social media, so that sells a fight now, rather than just, oh, this is number one guy, this is number two guy. They fighting, the whole world should want to see it. That's not how boxing is working these days. I will say Tank Davis has to be careful, because even though I don't think Ryan Garcia is ready for Tank Davis, he has the speed and power to possibly clip Tank Davis if he's not paying attention. And that can change the whole complexity of the fight. But overall, I think Tank Davis will win this fight. I understand why he took the fight, because it's a big bag. It's probably his biggest fight right now. I know people are mad that why he not fighting Devin Haney or Lomachenko. He's still a young guy. He still got time to fight those. But you go ahead and get that big bag. So he's going to get the bag, get Ryan Garcia out the way. And then for me, as a Tank Davis fan and a guy that's his critic, I'm going to be on his ass about making the Devin Haney fight, or going to fight a Lopez at 140, or fighting a Lomachenko at 135, or Shakur Stevenson. It's time for Tank Davis to take the next step and fight these top-tier guys, but I'm not mad at him for getting that big bag with Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, because those fights will have the same problem we got with the Crawford versus Spence fight. They are fights the hardcore fans want to see. They're pay-per-view worthy fights, but they won't make as much money as the bullshit-ass fight. Which is, like I said, that's what boxing is at this day and time. I don't know how we got here or when we got here. Some people blame Mayweather and Pacquiao for where we at, but I think it started happening before then, in my opinion. I think it started happening a little bit before that. I really can't put a gauge on it. But I'm like you, man. I would love to see him fight Devin Haney. I was calling for him to fight Lomachenko. I was calling for him to, well, Shakur Stevenson is new to the weight. I would love to see him fight Shakur Stevenson. But none of those fights are really huge pay-per-view fights, in my opinion. Right now today, I think Bob Arum came out and said that he's going to put Lomachenko versus Devin Haney on ESPN Plus on it. So it's not even a pay-per-view fight. He's talking about putting that on network television, trying to combat piracy. So boxing is a weird place where promoters are actually blaming fighters for lack of promotion, which is weird because their title is promoters. But that's another video. We'll talk about that another day. But it seems like Top Rank seems to have a problem with a piracy issue. They seem to have a problem with piracy that Terrence Crawford took a lot of slack for. So with Bob Arum coming out and saying that, that Devin Haney versus Lomachenko is not pay-per-view worthy, do you think that they see Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia as pay-per-view worthy? Even though it's not a Top Rank fight, it's more of a DAZN fight, I think. And if it is a DAZN fight, would you rather? This is the last question. Would you rather watch that fight on DAZN, or would you rather watch it on Showtime Fox?
Showtime Fox. I'm glad. The rumor is that Showtime Fox is pretty much running the fight, but DAZN will also be the seller on their app. So if you do order pay-per-view and you don't have DAZN, you have to order it on pay-per-view through Showtime. I prefer Showtime. DAZN, it seems like they still don't know how to connect with the American fan base, and these are two American fighters. I know over there across the water, they seem to be good for promotion as far as what they cater to that fan base, but as far as cater to the American fan base, they seem a little lost with their time and the time they put out a fight, the fights they put on the undercard. I seem to have no interest in it. So I'm hopefully that Showtime is rumored to be control of this fight, and so because this is an American fight, this is, to me, even though I don't think it's competitive, this still is the top 3 biggest pay-per-view fight you probably can make in boxing, outside of, like I said, Spence Crawford, Canelo with a big name, or Joshua and Wilder. So other than that, this is one of the biggest fights you can make as far as pay-per-view. So I'm not mad. I just hope that, like you said, Showtime is the one that's controlling this fight.
Yeah, I agree with you that I really prefer Fox. I prefer Fox telecast a lot better than Showtime. But I'll take Showtime if it.
Yeah.
But I take Showtime if it's the plan B of it. But yeah, man, I agree with you, man. I'm looking forward to good fights, man. Hopefully we get a good fight, whether it's on pay-per-view or not. Make me no difference. I'm still gonna watch it either way. But for the sake of boxing, man, I actually hope these fights do sell. If they don't, well, that's another video too. We'll talk about that too. What would be the plan B for boxing if piracy is a major issue? What's the best idea to combat that if you're a promoter? Oh, there'll be another video. You got anything else to add to this topic?
I think we covered it all.
Well, like that, with been said, man, this is your favorite channel, man, CTB. This is Chin Tuck Boxing. I'm, of course, your boy, Jay Slay. Say peace to him, man.
All right, everybody. Remember, please hit the like button so more people can see the video. Subscribe if you like what you see, notifications so you know when we bring it out of video. And comment if you want to talk about what we talked about in the video. You know why? Because we love boxing and you love boxing. But most of all, God, peace, and love, and we out of here. Take care.